Welcome to this episode of
Briefs.
On August 21st, 1998, I'm 16 years old, driving my 1984 Toyota Corolla up Interstate 75 at 64 miles per hour. My Toyota Corolla was a stick shift, a 5-speed, and I'm working the clutch from 4th to 5th gear as I pass exit 11 and make my way towards exit 36. Chattanooga is finally in the rearview mirror. The next 25 miles, Everclear's album So Much for the Afterglow is cranked up to 11 as I attempt to forget high school and run towards the mystery of the backwoods of Calhoun, Tennessee. For the past few years, I've taken this trip, usually with a parental chaperone, but tonight I'm all alone. And the air is that combination between warm and crisp, and I've never traveled this far away from home alone before. Tonight I'm spending the night with my friend Ethan. He's much different from the other kids at school. He's a homeschool kid. To the fully indoctrinated, public-schooled 16-year-old, a homeschool kid is like finding a baby unicorn in the wild, if that unicorn rarely sees other unicorns and is really into role-playing games and Nine Inch Nails. Nowadays, role-playing games are cool, but back then, I couldn't imagine anything nerdier. But that's why I liked it. And I liked him. He had no concept of the expectation of social norms of a 16-year-old in public school in 1998. He dug what he dug, and when I was with him, I dug what I dug too. Ethan lived with his family on a remote farm in the backwoods of Calhoun, Tennessee, and had no neighbors. When I traveled down his long gravel driveway, I had to stop about halfway to open a gate, which was used to keep out the feds or the scavengers that were surely going to arrive in a year and a half once Y2K removes the facade of civilization to reveal the true nature of the US of A. Anyway, I roll up to his house, and he meets me at the car with a black duffel bag. He tosses it in the back seat and hops in shotgun, and we head back down that long gravel driveway. I ask him, what's inside the duffel bag? He says something about combat boots, a book, a flashlight, and one of those retractable baton nightstick things. You know, the ones that are used by police. And I imagine a full-on riot gear police uniform. Is there a helmet with one of those cool face shields in there? A gas mask? It's starting to get dark as we travel the back roads to Athens, Tennessee. Not a stoplight or stop sign in sight. Just curvy roads and sporadic houses with cars parked in the front lawn. We approach one of the many farms with cows grazing, and Ethan asks if I've ever played Hey Cow, and I obviously say nope. He tells me to slow down as we pass the cows and rolls down the windows. He shoves the top half of his body out. At the top of his lungs, he screams, "Hey Cow!" Then counts how many of the cows look in his direction. I got 6 points. Not bad, he says. And even though I have no context on what a good score would be, I'm impressed. Even though this sounds red as hell, Ethan and his family are not rednecks. They live in this area where they are surrounded by rednecks, but they are incredibly smart, cultured folks. But when in Rome, you gotta yell at cows from time to time. We are going to see this movie that Ethan keeps talking about at one of those small 2-screen theaters. It's a movie called Blade, starring Wesley Snipes as a half-human, half-vampire hunter. Ethan has good taste in movies, so I'm stoked to check it out. We still have another 8 miles of country back roads before we get to the small town of Athens. They have a Hardee's, a couple gas stations. It's basically a metropolis compared to where we are coming from. That's when I noticed the headlights in my rearview mirror. I basically had the 2-lane road to myself until now. And those lights are approaching fast, and in a blink of an eye, they are right on my tail. So I do what any 16-year-old who has never seen Deliverance but had a friend who told him what happens does while in the backcountry of Tennessee. I floor it and try to lose the machete-wielding inbred SOB, or at least get to Athens, where I could scream for help, and there would be a chance that someone would actually hear me. I start taking these curves as hard and fast as my 4-cylinder engine could take it. But I can't shake this car behind me. I imagine all the years of NASCAR this guy must have watched as he memorized all these curves, and how he could drive this road with a Confederate flag blindfold. I wonder if today is the day I'm going to die, as the police sirens flip on and blue lights flood our faces. I slow to a stop on the side of the road, avoiding a ditch as we hang halfway into the lane and half off. I tell Ethan to be quiet. I have public school charm. I know how to handle authority figures. I really hope Ethan doesn't have any weapons besides that retractable baton in that duffel bag as the police officer approaches. The cop asks why I was driving so fast. I tell him, I was scared. I'm not from around here. The lights on my tail really freaked me out. And I use my most naive, dumb 16-year-old voice possible. He asks about the duffel bag in my back seat with the combat boots hanging out. Even though I told him not to speak, Ethan explains that he's planning to join the Marines as soon as possible. That he's training to keep his supplies with him at all times. Pretty sure that is true, but it also works in our favor, because this cop says something about how he was in the military, blah, blah, blah. That, plus my great naivety and doe-eyed dumbfoundry, convinces the cop to let us go with a warning. We breathe a sigh of relief and take it extra slow to Athens, because we gotta see this movie. The theater is about half full for the opening night of Blade in this duo multiplex. The movie opens with former porn actress Tracy Lords and some guy in his 20s laughing hysterically as he's being lured into a secret nightclub by this attractive woman. Unbeknownst to him, the club is filled with vampires. The two of them enter a meatpacking plant, and the man becomes increasingly nervous as they navigate through industrial corridors, eventually arriving at an underground rave. The club is packed with people dancing wildly to electronic music, creating a chaotic and hedonistic atmosphere. Suddenly, sprinklers go off, spraying blood over the entire crowd, revealing that the majority of the partygoers are vampires. The man panics as the vampires surround him, licking the blood and preparing to feast on him. Just as he's about to be attacked, Blade the vampire hunter arrives. Blade methodically and lethally begins to eliminate the vampires. Once the chaos is over, and all the vampires have either been killed or escaped, Blade checks to see if the human was bitten. He had not. So Blade leaves the scene moments before the police arrive. I cannot tell you how blown away I was by this scene at 16 years old. It was so scary, yet it was shot and edited in such a cool way that to this day, I am obsessed with nightclub scenes in movies. Anyways, this is the plot of the movie. The story follows a half-human, half-vampire warrior named Blade, who was born after his mother was bitten by a vampire during childbirth. As a result, Blade has all the strengths of vampires, enhanced strength, speed, and healing, but none of their weaknesses, aside from a thirst for blood that he keeps at bay with a special serum. He dedicates his life to hunting vampires and protecting humanity from their predatory world. Blade is mentored by Abraham Whistler, an older, grizzled vampire hunter who found Blade as a young man and taught him how to control his abilities. Whistler is the father figure of Blade and provides him with weapons, gadgets, and emotional support, even as he battles his own illness. Together, they wage a secret war against vampires, operating in the shadows of the city. One night, Blade saves Dr. Karen Jensen, a hematologist, or blood doctor, after she is attacked and bitten by a vampire. Blade brings her to his hideout, where Whistler warns her about the vampire underworld. Though initially skeptical, Karen soon begins helping them develop improved treatments for Blade's bloodlust while working on a cure for vampirism itself. Meanwhile, the main villain, Deacon Frost, is a young, ambitious vampire with a rebellious streak. He despises the Vampire Council, who adhere to strict rules about keeping their existence hidden, and seeks to overthrow them. Frost discovers an ancient prophecy about Lamagra, the blood god, who would help give him ultimate power and allow vampires to enslave humanity. To complete this ritual, Frost needs Blade's unique blood. Blade learns that Frost was the vampire responsible for his mother's death and transformation into a vampire. Frost captures Blade, drains him of his blood, and begins the ritual to summon Lamagra. However, Blade is rescued by Karen, who helps him regain his strength by allowing him to drink her blood. Supercharged and enraged, Blade confronts Frost in a final battle. During the climactic fight, Frost completes the ritual and becomes the embodiment of Lamagra, gaining godlike powers. Despite Frost's newfound power, Blade's expertise and determination lead to his victory, and he destroys Frost, preventing the rise of the Blood God. In the end, Blade avenges his mother's death, but remains a lone warrior, continuing his mission to protect humanity from the ever-present vampire threat, while Karen leaves to pursue her work on a cure. Blade's journey is far from over as he walks the line between two worlds, forever hunting vampires. When the movie's done, Ethan and I leave and walk to my car underneath the night sky. I can't stop thinking about how this movie is one of the most wild things I've ever seen in my 16-year-old brain. Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, is the coolest bad guy. His hair and clothing style were the aspiration of my teenage aesthetic moving forward. Where can I get one of those dress shirts with the large collars? Can my bangs do that? I need to figure out that haircut. Ethan wasted no time. He grabbed the duffel bag from the back seat and wanted me to follow him. He leads me to a tunnel about 6 feet tall and 12 feet wide that looks like a man-made cave hidden behind some buildings in downtown Athens. I'm a bit skeptical about entering this thing, and he explains that there's a tunnel system beneath all of Athens, and this is one of the entrances that has not been secured yet. This makes me more skeptical, but Ethan reaches into his duffel bag and pulls out a flashlight and starts walking in. I'm not sure if I'm more nervous about entering this tunnel or being left at the mouth of it alone, so I follow. The inside of the tunnel is covered in graffiti, and there's endless darkness. My tall, lanky body has to slouch not to hit my head on the ceiling. Are there vampires or werewolves in here? Will they breach the darkness at any moment and drag me to their underground lair, slowly feeding on me, or will they just rip me to shreds right here where I stand, adding a fresh layer of red graffiti on the wall that Ethan is now inspecting? Now I know why Ethan brought the retractable nightstick, though I wish he had brought some crosses or holy water. Ethan reaches back in the duffel bag and pulls out a book. It is an Enochian dictionary. Enochian is said to be the language of angels. It was recorded in 16th century England by the magicians John Dee and Edward Kelly, and Ethan is looking at the symbols in the book and the graffiti on the walls, attempting to translate the graffiti. And this is the best description of why I love Ethan. The indoctrinated public school teenage brain would ask, why in the world would there be esoteric messages written in graffiti on the tunnel walls beneath the small country town of Athens, Tennessee? The unadulterated mind of a homeschool kid would ask, why not? I mumbled something like, are you about done there, man? I'm pretty sure Ethan could tell I was a little freaked out. So he put his investigation on hold and we left the tunnel. On the drive back to Ethan's house on the twisting country road, we listened to the Nine Inch Nails album Pretty Hate Machine. Ethan knew all the words and was singing along passionately. I was lost in my thoughts. I felt different somehow, changed. There was this world of mystery that revealed itself to me. Imagined or real didn't matter. My eyes were open to more possibilities in this life than there were before. Ethan pointed out a cow pasture and said, "Your turn, dude." It was strange that the cows were out this late at night, and it would be tough to see, but I slowed the Corolla to a crawl and rolled down the window. I use my elbows to lift my torso out, and I scream as loud as I can. Hey, cow!
Briefs.